Hashtag no music, no intro. We are back, and it's that time again. The Saints Block Party podcast brought to you, presented by Precious Works LLC. Any business website needs, reach out to our guy, Bajan. He will hook you up with a business website. And it's time, y'all. It is time. We have Matt Harmon, Reception Perception, Yahoo extraordinaire, football 310, fantasy forecast, anything that you can think of. Matt Harmon is on top of it, joining the Saints Block Party podcast to talk about the upcoming NFL draft, wide receivers. It's going to be another conversation on Chris Olave, because we always have to have a conversation on Chris Olave when Matt comes on. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us, Matt, for I think your third year in a row. We really appreciate it.
No doubt. Happy to do it, guys. It's going to be fun. I think we might actually get the Saints taking some of these wide receivers this year. So it should be a fun conversation. But yeah, man, it's been a fun off season so far, and it's been a fun draft season. I always have the mixed feeling right now about, like, my God, I'm ready for the draft to be here, but also, like, I need every second of every day possible to complete all the work. So it's definitely a mixed feeling.
How many more I was going to ask, how many more receivers do you have left to chart?
My goal this year, and my goal every year, is to beat the previous number that I had on the site. So last year, I think it was 27. So this year, I've just been saying, like, 30. We're going to do 30. We'll have 30 up on the site. So I will still have 2 more drops left. I drop new profiles every Monday morning. So I'll have 1 more on Monday. And then the day of the draft, I'll have the rookie roundup, which is kind of a group of, like, mini samples of players to kind of round out the whole thing. You know, it's sometimes it's like nobody interesting in that rookie roundup. Last year, probably the most interesting guy was, like, Pat Bryant, who, had a couple moments for the Broncos, whatever. But, a few year in the 23 class, Puka Nacua was in that. It was like, okay, so sometimes it really matters to have that rookie roundup up. Other times, it's a hit or miss article. So yeah, I got about, like, 10 guys left. So it should be good.
That's awesome, man. Like, I was just looking at the site earlier. I was like, God, you already down to like Ted Hurst, and there was a couple of guys I was looking for that aren't there yet. So I'm like, God damn, like, that's just a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. We know, me and Adam, we do like a prospect of the week every weekend, just one prospect, and that is work. Like, it's work, and me and him are just looking at like 6 games at most of a player, and that's just one player. So I can only imagine, and like, you're actually, like, watching every route and charting everything, that can be like, you know what? I quit. Like, I'm not doing it anymore. Like,
I mean, before we give me too much praise here, I'm not working on the railroad.
Exactly. I feel that, man. It could be much worse.
It could be a lot worse. I don't really know what else I would be doing if it wasn't for this. So I'm very grateful, very happy to chart. Dazon Stribling, Ole Miss. Josh Cameron at Baylor. How many in routes can we chart? From a guy aligning.
I was looking for that Stribling. Stribling.
Jay, Stribling's almost done, so we can get into the sneak preview tonight. So we can talk about that.
I just want to give some also love just to you, and just how far Reception Perception has grown over the years, and just everything. I know I just saw, on social media recently that you were in CNU doing like a presentation in Virginia. Just reflecting on all of that, how far you've come with something that you've created, and now it's such a huge part of, like, not just the draft cycle, but just like the NFL in general.
Yeah, man, it's funny. I think I got asked during that session at CNU, what's been, like, the most surprising thing, throughout the course of your career. But one of the students asked me, I said, man, can I say everything? Can I say everything has been surprising? Like, I don't think I could have really imagined any of this. So yeah, it's just one of those things, like, one opportunity leads to another. You just got to kind of be open to everything. But yeah, man, I'm very grateful that I'm grateful people care about this at all. Like, this was kind of a Reception Perception was a random idea that I had, essentially, to answer the question that I had about football, which was, like, how can we quantify qualitative performance from wide receivers away from the ball? And I joked a lot with those students there at CNU that I am not doing anything that is related to the degree that I got, and that's like from a career space standpoint. I was a sociology undergrad and wanted to go get like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I wanted to go get my PhD in social theory and like kind of continue the work I was doing as an undergrad. Obviously, did not end up doing that. But while I'm not doing anything in my career field, a lot of the skills of like, all right, how do we chart all this data and try to quantify, like I said, qualitative things. A lot of those are skills I'm still using today. So you never know. You just never know what's going to happen, right? You never know what's going to happen. And I've been very grateful to have all these opportunities.
No, man, we're gonna test to it just with our podcast, just being 6 years in.
Yeah.
In a couple of days, it'll be 6 full years. So it's just crazy how this thing works. But diving into Saints and wide receivers, it feels like this is finally the year where the Saints will address weapons, which is something that me and Adam has been beaten down for years. Going back to the Sean Payton years, even Sean Payton, when he would just roll with these like late round or undrafted free agents and stuff like that. Finally, it looks like they're going to do that. They've been working out a ton of wide receivers. They're picking 8. Look at
these.
This.
Oh, there we go.
These are wide receiver drafted
that they've drafted 06 in 20 years. Well, I guess not counting this upcoming draft year. So I guess 19 years. They have drafted 13 wide receivers. Now, this doesn't include like undrafted free agent finds like Lance Moore, like Rashid Shaheed, but this is the list. This is the list that the Saints have drafted, and tight ends even worse. Tight ends 4 within going on 19 years.
Really?
So,
4?
Yes, 4. 4, Matt. 4. So like,
well, part of this is they never have any picks, but now that's
part of it.
Part of it, but still.
And then part of it too, just looking at the list is like, man, like sometimes with like typically if they draft wide receivers, it seems to be like in their wheelhouse where they typically they select in some type of way like a good player. So I came prepared for this episode because I wanted to have my the graphics and everything. But just as Ryan was like attributing to, I just want to start with like the fit of I guess you could say like the top 3. Or I know Tyson may be a little lower for you, but Lemon, Tate, Tyson. What just fit wise, who like excites you the most potentially being in the Saints office with Kellen Moore, Olave, and Tyler Shough?
Yeah, honestly, any of those guys would excite me. I think the reason that I would be specifically interested in Tate and Lemon is for 2 totally different reasons. One, Carnell Tate, I think fits all 32 NFL offenses, which is why I've had him as my top-ranked receiver of this draft class. I think there's a chance guys like Tyson or even Lemon could have higher production ceilings, but the reality is, like, whether you're in one of these more condensed offenses where, you're kind of bringing guys closer into the offensive line in terms of the receivers, or you're playing at heavy personnel packages, or you're more of a spread-out 3+ receiver, spread and shred type teams, everybody, because of the rules of the sport, needs someone to line up outside on the ball, and you'd like for that guy to be able to beat press man coverage. And guess what Carnell Tate does? He does that. So all 32 NFL offenses, theoretically, obviously, divorcing yourself of like the players that they currently have, everybody has a need for a player like that. So I would rank him as wide receiver 1 in the class because of that. I think New Orleans could use a player like that to especially help maximize Chris Olave even more. They did a great job kind of doing the stuff that we wanted to see. You're right. We talk about Olave every year. We'll have more of a conversation about him. But part of the reason that we got a really good season out of him last year is that they were able to detach him from the formation and move him across the field to get like matchups, especially, man, with Spencer Rattler was there. It was just quick out, quick route.
My God.
Over and over and over again. A lot of stick routes. And you need, in order to do that, if you're using him at pre-snap motion or motion at the snap, you need someone to be on the ball. Tate could be that guy. The thing that would be exciting about Lemon is that he would allow you to kind of mix and match with Olave in that way. Because I think Lemon could end up being the most productive receiver from this class, but he needs the right fit because he is probably not a slot only, but a slot mostly player. And because New Orleans really does, like, I really like the way their offense is designed. I like how they spread things out. They would give him the opportunities that he needs to be a really productive player. So either of those two guys. Tyson, I do think, like, I'd rather him go to a team that I think truly needs like a Z receiver. I'm worried that because he's 6'2", over 200 pounds, he's going to get typecasted as an X. But I think his profile just really fits much more cleanly as a Z receiver that moves around. And I do think there's a little bit of redundancy there with what Chris does for this team.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, Carnell Tate is my favorite Saints pick, but Lemon is like my favorite wide receiver in this draft, at least my number one. Because like when you just watch Lemon early, it's just like he's gonna be productive in the league, man. It's like just the way the league functions right now, the way defenses are playing,
Right.
all the zone stuff they're doing. It's like this guy is gonna catch at least 60 to 70 balls and be productive. But Tate, every time I watch him, it's just so smooth and effortless. And the way he catches, like he actually catches the ball, has great hands.
Fantastic hands.
And it's funny what I've been trying to like figure out. It seems like everybody's kind of pigeonholing him into like this downfield, like big deep threat, which he was great at last year. But if you look at like 2024 under Chip Kelly, he was doing like some great sideline stuff, working over the middle, stuff like that. I just feel like there's more to Tate than I think Ohio State used him, throughout his career because he's playing next to a demon. Last year he was playing next to a demon and Ibuka. So it's like, you understand it, but like I feel like there's more to him. Like I was thinking if he was on like Arizona last year, the year before last, where Tate was playing, and if say you replace Tate with him, with Carnell Tate, would the production be the same? Like I think the production would be kind of the same. I don't know, but that's just a projection. But I just wonder, like, as far as like Tate, the question seems to be like, can he be that guy? Can he be that number one guy? I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I have stacked rankings on the site, so it's like multiple classes stacked against each other, and I have Tate and T-Mac, Tedero McMillan, like right next to each other, so pretty much like the same to me. And obviously T-Mac was a guy that was able to be a number one receiver for the Panthers. I think you want more from him than what great rookie year. He was offensive rookie of the year. I'm not saying he was bad by any means, but obviously he's a rookie. You want him to improve going forward. So I think that's the type of player you could get here with Carnell Tate. And yeah, it's a great point. Like, it feels like this happens every few years with the Ohio State guys. Like, well, he was sharing the field with this guy, he was sharing the field with that guy. There's nothing these players can do about that. And like they've all, except the guy who was supposed to be the best one of them all, like Marvin Harrison Jr. They've all kind of been great. Like they've all been really good. Even back in the day, this was a knock with like Michael Thomas when he got drafted by the Saints. Like the production wasn't really there, but like we saw what he became in the NFL, really kind of ahead of his time as a in-breaking master at that like big receiver position. Like there's a lot of guys in that family of wide receivers. One of the players we might talk about here that could be a first round pick. But anyways, yeah, Tate I think could be a number one in time. But the reality is too, like, look at what receivers are making on the open market. I mean, no disrespect to these players, but Romeo Dobbs getting like 17 plus million, Wan'Dale Robinson making 17 plus million. Like you get, you draft Carnell Tate, like theoretically 8th overall, which is what Tedero McMillan was 8th overall last year, just under $8 million a year. Guys like Josh Palmer, Jahan Dotson are making more money. I still got my candle lit for Jahan Dotson. I'd like to see him have a good year, but I mean, come on, like Jahan Dotson's making more money on a per year basis than Tedero McMillan, just under $7 million a year. So it's just a really big value, even if he doesn't become an alpha receiver, to take that guy, even if it's as high as 8th overall.
What is so fascinating to me is two of the players and we reported this on our Patreon only episode, and I'll set it out now, that receiver wise that are in their cloud is Lemon and Tyson. And Ryan and I have been trying to figure out like, and what this, like, not that they don't like Carnell Tate, but I don't know if they're in love with the ideal of him at 8 as opposed to maybe like a Makai Lemon. I would love Tate. At 8, I would love Makai Lemon at 8. I think the Lemon fit is just so interesting just in the way that he wins and also how he could be deployed in the office with Kellen, especially with Tyler Shuck and what he does and how he excels in terms of throwing the ball over the middle of the field, the crossing routes. That's where Shuck really likes to throw the ball, and that's where Lemon makes his money. And I'm not saying that he's Puka Nakua, but when we broke down Makai Lemon in terms of our Prospect of the Week episode, the way he won reminded me so much of how Puka wins in the league. Just contested catches across the middle, and just able to get open. But you have the size on him. So just for, just listeners and viewers, just your overall thoughts of Makai Lemon in general.
Well, I think, just to stick on the Saints point real quick, like, I think the reason that he's so interesting with this team is just like there's a proof of concept, and I would understand why they would like him, because look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb, who's obviously bigger than Makai Lemon, 6'2", 198 pounds at the NFL Scouting Combine, but like he's a guy that I think could play all three receiver positions, dominates all three receiver positions, but they did so much with him as a slot-based player in Kellen Moore's offense, and like you're just essentially getting like a guy who's going to clearly win from the slot. I think it would be so interesting. Especially when you're doing like fantasy content, 2 years, like let's say Olave gets extended by the team, they draft him, Lemon 8th overall. Like who's getting more targets in that scenario? That's going to be some fun like debates and discussions, because I think we saw a lot with like some of the best stuff that Shuck did to me, in addition to launching it over the middle, and Lemon fits so perfectly there. Like you mentioned, my evaluation of him is just a great zone beater. He can win working routes over the middle of the field. He can work outbreakers as well. He does it all in that way. He fits in that archetype that's dominating the league now. That's a great fit with Shuck, but also, again, not to keep spoiling the Chris Olave discussion, but like, man, Shuck really showed like big boy quarterback stuff to like plant his foot on the far hash and launch it outside the numbers.
Yes.
And I think that might be, if I'm guessing, why they might prefer a guy like Tyson or Lemon to Tate. That's theoretically what Tate will bring you. And it's like, well, maybe we already have that guy in a vertical receiver, that they do more stuff with Olave than just that. But like, he's already kind of our deep outside the numbers player. We need someone to operate in more areas. Obviously, Lemon would be a great fit there.
I think that's a big part of it.
Big part, because one thing about, as much as we love Olave, he's not like a yak monster. He's not tackle breaker. He's just not. And there were a lot of plays last year, even last year when he had a real great season. It was like, why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep throwing these little short, quick outs?
Oh my God.
And he gets popped. And early in the season, they were doing a lot of these little bubble screens where he just getting blown up in the backfield and stuff. I was like, please.
I remember one against the Panthers. Like, I remember charting games with him in season. I remember him just getting lit up behind the line of scrimmage.
It was rough. So, like, to me, I hear like some fans would be like, "Oh, do we really need like another 5'11", 6 foot wide receiver? We already had that with Olave." I'm like, Lemon is like, he's not Olave. Like, he's a very different wide receiver, even though they like have similar measurements, I guess. But I guess moving on to some of the next group of wide receivers, one of your guys, you said this is your guy, and I love this guy too. A lot of the people I respect love this guy, KC Concepcion. Everybody I respect love him, and I take him at 8, man. Like, I'm that crazy. I would just take him at 8. That's just how he's just a fun player. It's like Reggie Bush.
Yes.
Not saying he's like Reggie Bush, but like I'd still draft Reggie Bush 2 overall, even though he didn't have like the career people thought he was. But he's just so fun, man. And KC Concepcion is like that for me.
Yeah, he's my receiver too in this class behind Tate. I just love this player. And look, I know he's got catch point issues. I know he had a high drop rate. Number one, if like that's the first thing you're bringing up about a player, I think you're really missing the forest for the trees. Who's the last wide receiver you can remember that truly like fell out of the league or really failed because of drops? Usually it's if they drop the football a ton and they get kind of washed out of the league, it's like they couldn't do anything else. And that's the thing. KC Concepcion does everything else at a high level. I mean, we're talking about a player who is the best separator in the class, 92nd percentile success rate versus man coverage in reception perception, best in this class, best success rate versus press. Like, yeah, he's but about 6 foot, 196 pounds. He smokes press coverage at all three levels of the field, separates deep, short, intermediate, great with the ball in his hands. He's an awesome kick returner, proof of concept of that. And he is one of the players, and I understand like this really can irritate fans in this way, but to me, it also is a proof of concept that like he does have the ball tracking ability in him. He definitely drops the easy ones, but he makes the hard ones, you know, like he's got a high drop rate, but a high contested catch rate, which again, is irritating. You're like, why don't you do that all the time? Like, but sometimes I think it's like he claps at the ball. Sometimes it's a focus issue. Those do need to be corrected. But man, if it wasn't for that, like I'd wave him into like the tier 1 of wide receiver prospects. So you got to adjust for that some way.
Is it like a Ted Ginn used to have like bad drops way back in the day, but then Ted Ginn like turned out, he kind of turned his career around and became like a really good wide receiver. He was never like a number 1 or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I guess we've seen plenty of times guys come in that have those drop negatives that just, they end up fine. Like they turn out just fine.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors dropped a lot of footballs his rookie year, and I love, and like this is after my own heart, so like I do get that, but at the same time, he said, he's like, hey, yeah, I dropped the football, just throw it to me again, like I'll catch it the next time. And it's like, to me, it's like that's good, and when you have that mindset and you have that confidence, because I think when it can be bad for guys is when it starts to spiral. And I think a guy that is one of those examples is like Dontavian Wicks with the Packers, who just got traded with the Eagles, but like he clearly had an opportunity his second year when Christian Watson got hurt to like play a lot for the Packers. After having a really nice rookie year with really promising efficiency metrics and some good reception perception success rates too, you started to see like when he started to drop the football, he had one bad game and then it became like another bad game. And then he started like not running his routes with the same confidence. And like, that's when it can really wear on a player. I do kind of like, and maybe this is just total narrative based, I like that KC is number 1. You get great character reports on him from from Texas A&M. Like he came in there and immediately established himself as a leader. I like that he's out there, you know, saying like, yeah, I'm trying to be an inspiration to people that have a stutter, like a speech issue, like he does that. So it's like, all right, guy's got to be pretty damn confident to do that. So hopefully if he can remain confident in his hands, we can not have one of those type of issues.
Yeah. It's funny. I was listening to 40s and free agency on a long LA commute this morning, and the way that, and it was with Mina, DJ, and Greg Rosenthal, and Greg had made just in how easily open KC Concepcion gets open, reminded him of Chris Olave out of Ohio State, and that's so ironic because I was like, man, I was actually thinking, and I don't think the Saints would go that route at 8, and maybe because they feel like it may be too duplicative, but he's just such a fun and exciting player. Speaking of like fun and exciting players that is more potential, there is this ongoing theme, Matt, on Saints Twitter, just in the Saints world, that the Saints should not take any wide receivers at 8, maybe not even in the second round, because they traded for Jalen Polk, they added Trey Palmer, and we need to see what they have. Like, we don't need receivers. We have Trey Palmer, we have Jalen. I'm not making any of this up. This is not hyperbole. This is a whole thing that we've been dealing with. But I do want to focus on the Jalen Polk aspect of things, because I know you charted him even after his rookie season. I know. So the Saints traded for him during the season last year. I think they gave the Patriots like a 7th when he was on IR, so he didn't play it down for the Saints. Could you, like, I'm just trying to, is there anything to maybe squint and maybe get excited about Polk, just in the sense that he may be utilized in the correct role with the Saints as opposed to that he was with the Patriots?
To buy myself some time to spiritually prepare to answer that question, and not to give, I loathe to give Greg any credit here, but it is funny you mentioned that KC Concepcion comparison with Chris Olave. Like, I'm just looking at their reception perception success rates as prospects. KC 78.3% against man, Chris Olave 78%. Success rate versus zone 83.2 for KC, Chris Olave 83.1.
Wow.
Identical. Success rate versus press 77.6 Chris Olave 76.1. So like we're talking about with the, I mean, damn, Greg got this one.
Damn, he did. On the money. On the money.
On the money. Good stuff there from Greg. No, so now I've prepared myself to answer the Jalen Polk question.
Yo,
did you see?
What up, Wolf? What are you looking at?
Man, I'm checking out this website. This site is cheeks, bro.
In the 21st century? How do you have a crappy website? Couldn't be me.
They need to hit up our guy Bijan with Precious Works. Precious Works offers to not only build you a website that's tailored to you and your customers' needs, but also to continue to manage and maintain it so you can focus on your business. Don't have much time? Precious Works is just what you need. No out-of-the-box stuff like Squarespace or Wix. Precious Works will create a site for you. You won't have to worry about plugin updates, security, or things like that because Precious Works will maintain all of that and be available to you 24/7. Bijan set up Saints Block Party Podcast website for us a few years ago and hit it out the park. He also keeps it up to date and helps us anytime we want to add something new like a form or the prospect matching tool that we did for the NFL draft. It's like having your own personal developer just a text or a call away. Precious Works has worked with everyone from small businesses to large firms, so no job is too big or too small. If you're in the need of a website or you currently have one, but you want to upgrade it, give Bijan a holler at Precious Works. You can get with him at Bijan at Precious Works, BIJON at precious.works, or go to precious.works for his website. Make sure to tell him Saints Block Party.
Did you see him and Shuck fishing together though?
I did.
We did. Yeah.
He's ingrained himself, bro. Like they love him. Like they love him in the building.
Well, I like to hear that because I will admit I am still mystified about how his rookie season went because and let me say in one sense the Patriots I do think completely misused him and set him up to fail his rookie year because when I charted Jalen Polk as you mentioned as a prospect and then charting him as a rookie, I'm like, what the hell are they doing with this guy? Like, it's not even one thing where like sometimes I have my pet theories with players like Elijah Surratt's a guy this year that like I want him to move from the outside on ball player to be like a power slot, like a Pat Bryant, like a Marcus Colston with the Saints. You know, I want him, that's like a pet theory though, right? With Jalen Polk, they used him as a rookie as the outside X receiver running like go routes. And that's not even what he did in college. Like in college, that was Roma Dunze as the X receiver at Washington. Like Polk was this kind of 35% slot player, 30-40% slot player, but was mostly a Z and like a dirty work guy going over the middle, beating zone, running in breaking routes, deeper out patterns. And it's like they didn't have him do any of that stuff at all. So there's no question that he was set up to fail. That being said, the other thing that was completely mystifying was that when watching Polk as a prospect, I was like, this guy is a great blocker and he might have the best hands in the class. And then he gets to the NFL as a rookie, he can't catch a thing and his blocking sucks. So, I mean, it was weird. So, but obviously there was something up with him and the Patriots. Yes. So it's good to hear that like that he's ingraining himself into the culture of New Orleans. Cause yeah, like, this is a good take to say on the podcast. Like I wouldn't tweet this, but I'm like, I like still have the tiniest time. Like you got to go under the couch cushion, like deep under there and be like, I got some Jalen Polk stock. Like it's not in my brokerage anymore. It's like deep under the couch cushion, I would say.
No, I think there's a segment of Saints fans that will love to hear that because they are like true believers in Polk. And it's not that I'm a believer or don't like him. I just like, can we see him first? Like,
well, yeah,
that he exists.
All that being said, like, there's no way that Polk or, I mean, Trey Palmer or even like Vele, who I like. But yeah, I got caught in this too. I was tweeting about like the Saints have just so much opportunity to add skill position players. Like I got the replies like, we got Vele, bro. We don't. It was like, okay. So I don't know, maybe one of you guys retweeted me or something, but like that came in my mentions at one point. I was like, wait a second, like I think Vele could be a nice 3, and I mean, but like you showing me a game log where he had like 60 yards and 90 yards, and now it's like 2 games. I wouldn't let. These guys are nice players that I think could fit what they're clearly been looking for in this room, which is like size and physicality and guys to play Z and big power slot players. Sure, it wouldn't stop me from adding like a premium player at the position in either of the first 3 rounds, honestly.
It's the size part is so key because last year, if Teteroa was there at 9, they would have taken him over Banks. And then they really wanted to draft Isaac Tesla in the 3rd round, and the Lions jumped them for Tesla. Was it round 3? Yeah, round 3.
It was round 3, yes.
They've been trying to add size at the wide receiver position for so long, but I want to just take a brief second just to talk about the Chris Olave discourse. Coming off a season where he was a second-team All-Pro, by far probably his best season of his career since he got drafted. And there's still a segment of like of Saints fandom that either doesn't want him to be extended or potentially would be okay with the idea of him being traded. What did you see from? And this is just not for like I'm not going to put my take in it, but I just wanted to like, what did you see from Chris Olave last season?
Yeah, I thought I saw what I've always seen with him, which is like really good route runner, extremely explosive, can win at all 3 levels, awesome separator. I thought he played with a lot more confidence last year. And I think when we're talking, and obviously that has a lot to do with like the concussions and everything. Yep. And, he talked openly about that. I mean, there's a lot to be said about a player that really considered walking away from the game and was scared. And what, all the things he talked about, anybody listening to this podcast knows this, of course. So it's like, I thought that was really key for him. I thought he played with a lot more confidence, especially in the back half of the year. And I mean, look, you and I, we've the 3 of us have talked about his connection or lack thereof with Derek Carr for many, podcasts. To see him, I think, have great chemistry with both quarterbacks.
Yes.
Like, I thought he had really good chemistry with Spencer Rattler on a lot of those like quick outs that we were talking about. And then especially like the throws over the middle of the field that really Rattler wasn't as good as accessing. Then Shuck comes in and they have really good timing and really good chemistry at all levels of the field. To me, I thought Chris Olave had a great season last year. I think that's the question is like, where do you rank him among league, like throughout the course of the league, right? Like James Cohn, I got into this on Reception Perception, the show, where he's like, yeah, we saw him be good last year, but can we see him be great? I was like, I think we saw him be great last year. Can he access like an elite ceiling? Most guys don't access an elite ceiling. Like most guys don't. That's why it's a special word, elite. Like that's why there's probably like 5-6 of them. Do I think he's in that 5-6 inner circle? Probably not. But I think he's like a tier 2, at worst, top a tier 3 type receiver in the league, which is a guy that can be a number 1 and you can funnel the whole thing through. And I think he's capable of being that guy. Really, I thought he was awesome last year.
I agree, and I think what I try to tell people is like, well, it's this constant question, like, is he a real number 1? Is he a real number 1? I'm like, he's the Saints' number 1 wide receiver. Like, whether you want him to be he's the Saints' number 1 wide receiver. He's the go-to guy. He's the guy Tyler Shuck looks for immediately after the snap. He's who, I thought Kellen Moore did a good job of really accessing all the different skill sets that he has instead of just using them as like a downfield receiver. Everything, they use them everywhere. So I just like, pay the man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think they will. I know they will pay him. How much? That's what a lot of the discourse is about. Is he worth $35 million? It's like, man, I don't know, man. Like, wide receivers are just getting banked, man. It's like there's nothing you can do about it. They are getting paid.
Yeah, and like again, okay, you're gonna trade him, then what?
Then what?
You gotta replace him. Like
then you gotta hope that one of these guys. I mean, like we're talking about $35 million. Like DK Metcalf is making $32 million. I will take Chris Olave over DK Metcalf 100 times out of 100. Like that's just where the market is right now. You get good players, you pay your good players, and you keep them, okay? Because otherwise, then all right, like, you take Carnell Tate 8th overall or something like that, and then I guess you can do the Jalen Polk trutherism. I mean, I like that's
Lord
those type of guys. It's like. I'm totally for the trutherism with Jalen Polk, and like I'm quietly admitting that like I'm hoping it works out, like I'm silently with you guys out there. But you want that to be gravy, you want that to be like, man, what if What
like,
if we
whoa,
have
you know?
what if we have Chris Olave and we have Makai Lemon and Vele is like a cool third receiver? And what if Jalen Polk ends up being good?
Right?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Instead, like, geez, we really need Jalen Polk to be good. Like, yeah, that's not where you want to be.
It isn't. It isn't at all. I'm gonna go completely opposite direction. You speak a lot. You host a fantasy podcast. I can't escape the idea that maybe on draft night there may be a slip for Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, and if he gets past the Commanders at 7, and he's sitting there at 8, I think there's a potentially good possibility that the team would want to pair him with Travis Etienne. Just throwing it out there, Matt. Just throwing it out there.
Oh God, I hope you're wrong.
I know, because I could hear the fantasy football person in you just become so disgusted. I can hear it. I can hear it.
Yeah. No, it's not even that I would be disgusted. It's that, like, oh my God, now I'm gonna have to deal with, like, everybody whining about this and like we gotta talk about it like that.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
But I want to talk about the potential on field football tactics of, does it make sense? And the way I've looked at it, and I've been thinking about this a while, because I've heard the Saints have kind of done like a 180 on Love as a prospect, where I think coming into the draft process, they were like, he's like a mid-round, first round, like mid-round running back, low end of the first round. But then I think they then started like seeing like what the whole class looked like, and they were like, oh shit, like he's okay, he's that dude. The reason I'd be okay with it is that a big part of that is them signing David Edwards in free agency to secure the left guard spot. You have your bookend tackles with Banks and Fuaga. McCoy, you're going to get 6 to 8 games out of, and then Maurice is obviously kind of like the black hole at right guard. But like, this wouldn't be a Ashton Genty going to the Las Vegas Raiders line type of situation. And I could just see this vision of Kellen Moore wanting to make the game easy for Tyler Shuck and just giving him an insanely strong run game with Love, with Achane. And then you can use Shuck's legs as well and create a just very dominant run game towards defenses. Does it make sense to you if they were to go that route?
No, I think it's too much. I think it's too cute. I just, like, I think they're not. You're 100% right. It's a better ecosystem than what Ashton Genty walked into last year. It really couldn't really get worse than what Ashton Genty walked into last year. It didn't look great on paper, and it was worse once the game started, because you're like, oh boy, there's way too many cooks in this kitchen, and one of them is the coach's son that we shouldn't even have. The Nepo baby shouldn't have this offensive line coach job. So it's like, that was a big problem. But I think for New Orleans, they're not quite there from the team build perspective, where, like, to me, you're picking 8th overall, like, you did earn that 8th overall pick. I think you got to look for a more premium position, especially after you just used resources to get Achane in the building. Because, like, now you're going to irritate. I'm sure he could be a good soldier about it. Him and Love would be good together. But, like, you kind of, then you've already not going to get bang for your buck for one of these guys, and probably not the guy that you just paid real money to. So it's a little too much to me. Plus, I also think that, like, I don't know what you guys have heard, but I would say it's like, if Love is there at 7, 95% chance they turn that card. Washington turns that card.
Yes.
Like, yes. I'll give it 95% to be conservative.
Yeah. No question about it. It's just interesting to think about it if he's there.
Pre Achane signing, it would have been. I thought that would have been such an awesome spot. I just think that. Now it's probably a hat on the hat resources wise, but Jeremiah Love's awesome, and he would bring especially again an offense that does spread it out like these guys do in New Orleans, and is very, there's a lot of old school Lenahan, but also some of the new school, like moving guys around pre-snap and everything. You can create a lot of mismatches with a guy like Jeremiah Love and, like, leak him out of the backfield. I think he's like a plus receiver out of the backfield. So he would be incredible in this scheme. I just think from a resource perspective, and maybe there's like 10% of the fantasy in
There it is. Anything else? I have one more for Matt. Right? Anything else that you had?
Go ahead.
let's talk about the Chris Bell of it all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Got about
Um, there is not. It started at the combine, and then it continued at his pro day. I've never, and it's not. This is a good thing for like if you're a Saints fan. Like I love that this is happening. I don't think I've ever seen a player, a prospect, so openly politicking and campaigning to be drafted by the Saints. Like he said it at the pro day. He said it at the combine that he's tailing Tyler Shuck. Make sure I get to New Orleans. Then Tyler Shuck is talking about it. Like at this point, like they've talked about it so much, it wouldn't surprise me if like a team jumped the Saints in ahead of 42 potentially to take Chris Bell. But him as a prospect, he's coming off the ACL. He played with Tyler Shuck at Louisville. Was it Miller Moss? Like you could tell. Yeah, he couldn't stand
That's
him.
what I was gonna say. That was my first thing I was gonna ask you guys. Like, how much of that have you noticed? Because like, that's one of those like, man, you didn't know what you had until you lost it.
Exactly.
He's getting out. Chris Bell's getting out of a toxic relationship, and he is looking back at like his pictures with his ex and being like, he's looking good on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like, when can I get to New Orleans? So yeah, I get that part of it.
And I know that the even before the politic, and I know the Saints liked him very early in the process. What is potentially like what is Chris Bell potentially would bring to the offense if the Saints were to draft him? If they don't get sniped for him, like what potentially could he bring to the Saints offense?
Yeah, I think he's the biggest boom bust receiver in the class, and I say that with like the fact that the big boom is possible. There are other volatile guys like Chris Brazzell out of Tennessee is one of those guys that like he has a wide range of outcomes. I don't think he has the big boom, like the biggest boom potential that like Chris Bell does. So I say that like he's big boom bust, parentheses complimentary. The thing with Chris Bell is that I think unlike a guy like Chris Brazzell, you do see real reps of Chris Bell, despite the fact he only lined up on one side of the field. And I think the season with Shuck, he only lined up on the left side of the field. Last year, he only lined up on the right side of the field. Historically, for reception perception, so I without the context of like he did this last year, in the games I've charted, like prospects who line up on one side of the field on over 70% of their sampled snaps and reception perception, those guys go on to average 18.9 yards per game in the NFL. Yeah. And there's some hits, but there's a lot of just like complete busts. And so that does put him in like a danger zone there. Brazzell is even worse, but like that despite that part of it, put a pin in that for a second. Despite that, he does show what I think is real deal ability to beat press coverage and beat man coverage, especially on like big boy routes. Like he can really stack and get behind corners on the perimeter. And his quarterback didn't find him, and we all know that if you watched him. But like he does get open, in addition to some of the stuff he does with the ball in his hands on crossing routes and stuff that would really fit in New Orleans' offense. And because of that, I think that I'm obsessed with Alec Pierce and talking about Alec Pierce in this draft class because I think he's really instructive to what can happen for these perimeter receivers and how it can work out for guys who have a limited applicable skill set to the X receiver position to start their careers, because Pierce was that guy. I liked Pierce as a prospect. I was ahead of consensus on Pierce as a prospect, but he only ran 3 routes. Like he ran go, post, slant, that's it, and like some quick out routes, stuff like that. But for the most part, those were the 3 routes he ran, but he could beat press man coverage to the point that he was a credible guy that you could stick on the field in his first 3 seasons and was mostly like sacrificial. You know, he mostly wasn't getting the ball. He's like opening up for Michael Pittman, opening up for Josh Downs, stuff like that. But he just got better and better and better each year to then 4th year. Oh, he's a guy that has 1,000 yards. People want to pay him $30 million a year. And I think that's really instructive for these guys. Like if you can get on the field right away as an X because you're a big body and you can actually beat press coverage, like that part's not the developmental part. Like a guy like Chris Brazzell, you can't throw him out there on the field day one and expect him to beat press coverage just based on what we've seen so far. I can't do it. He needs like a season. But the problem is like if you need a season, guess what's coming next year? A good wide receiver class. Every class is a good wide receiver class. It's like you didn't show me anything in year 1. It's like guess what? Yeah, some fans online might do the trutherism thing. Like we got Chris Brazzell, but the coaches are like, "This is guys. I gotta keep my job. Like I gotta draft somebody who can actually play." You know. So I think Chris Bell does check the box. Like he can get on the field and get better and better and better. The problem is the ACL. That's where it's tough because if he just doesn't play all year, or not doesn't play all year, but he doesn't participate in off-season activities, stuff like that, that's going to be tough. We see that with rookie receivers all the time.
All the
Like
time.
they miss time in the offseason, they're behind the 8 ball. Even a guy like Luther Burden, great rookie season last year. He was behind the 8 ball, didn't get a lot of work till the back half of the season. Jackson Smith and Jigba hurt his wrist in his rookie season. They didn't quite know what to do with him for a while there in that rookie year. It's like it does happen that way for these guys. They fall behind. And I would worry about that with Bell to then does he recover? But theoretically, if we put the ACL out of the mind, I do think he's not a complete player. He does need development. So did Pierce, but he can play early and be like a vertical player for you at that X receiver position. In addition to stuff that oh yeah, you can spit the ball out to him and he can run after the catch because he is. I think not only is he well built, you tell me if you guys feel the same way. I think he could add muscle to his frame. He could clearly fill out even more, which is pretty scary.
Scary, bro. Scary because when he's running, that looks good, man. And that's just a dimension to the Saints offense we don't have. Nobody in the offense can really just catch the ball and run. And Kellen Moore tries. He tries it all. He tries to get someone to do it, but we just don't have the horses for that. So hopefully somebody in this draft could do it. We're hoping to double dip. We want a tight end too. We love that, that you guys are doing charting tight ends now. Finally, everybody's been screaming, please chart tight ends.
Not me.
It's not you. You're not doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Last one I had, speaking just with Ryan hitting on the double dipping point, is there any receivers maybe getting out of the first 2 rounds later in the draft that if the Saints, I know they want to add one in round 3, round 4, whatever, that you just feel would be a good fit for the offense and what potential they could bring later on in the draft?
Yeah, if we think about just the big guys, because I think that's probably the aisle that they're shopping, right? And there's definitely some good Z slot type players in the Deion Burks is a guy with 0 production. It's just something about him, My buddy JJ Zacharyson, who does database prospecting, I thought he was gonna laugh me off his show for bringing up Deion Burks because that's how bad the production profile is. But there's something with him. So if we're thinking about just the big boy receivers, I mentioned Surratt. Malachi Fields is another guy that I think would be a good. They were perimeter receivers in college, but because especially Malachi is a former quarterback, and I always say Cooper Kupp, you could always tell was so smart, could read zone coverages because he was a former quarterback, and I think you see that with Malachi Fields a little bit. He's much better, not great against press man coverage from a separation standpoint, but he does have the zone skills to feel things out. I have a whole breakdown coming out on my YouTube channel soon about the guys these non-separators against press man. How does it end up working out for them? Spoiler alert. Most of them don't. 43% of them end up getting cut on their rookie contract. But the guys who do work out, they kick into the slot. They're that power slot off ball kind of Z receiver mold. And I think those 2 guys are candidates there. 2 other guys later down the draft board, we kind of touched on a little bit Lance, and I do think Dazon Stribling would be interesting as big receivers who can, I think, flash against man coverage and really are more in that slasher mold in breaking routes. And I think both of those guys would fit well. If they're just purely looking for a vertical guy, I like Bryce Lance a little bit. I do think Bryce Lance.
I was just looking at his profile on your site. I was damn.
He can he can rip it down the field. Lower level of competition. Kind of cradle catches. He needs to get worked out of his game, but you could tell he's a moves different type for sure. So there's a lot. Different flavors, different. Even those guys are all different. Even if it's I just am thinking about big receivers that would work for them. All those guys are so different from each other. So it kind of just depends on the flavor you're looking for.
Well, we are hoping that every time you do, I remember as the year ends, you're doing for the rookie receivers, you're doing write-ups, and I'm always maybe us one day. Hopefully.
Maybe this year.
Hopefully, as the 2026 season ends, there's a Saints, maybe 1 or 2 Saints rookie receivers that you'll be writing. Matt Harmon, thank you so much for coming on, talking Saints, talking receivers, draft, all of it with us. We greatly appreciate it. It's just been a fantastic show and so informational for our viewers and our listeners, man.
No, thank you guys for having me as always, and I'm really glad you provided me the safe space to talk about the one Jalen Polk stock, that I've still got stashed away somewhere.
Don't worry,
around here.
you are not alone. You are not
alone, sir.
Alone. But we appreciate all our listeners for listening and supporting us, and with that, we are out.
Peace.